everybody out there, Sam Dennehy, another episode of Halfass Presents the podcast. My guest today is Michael. I'm not gonna start off with trying to say his last name. It looks like Michael McCarville. That's what it looks like. In fact, I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about by when I say that's what it looks like. This will turn around. This is his profile. So Michael McCarville. I don't know, man. You guys know I can't pronounce names. I'm bad with it. Just always is, always was. Anyways, that's a special guest. He's a model builder, model train building reviewer. He's got his own YouTube channel where he builds and reviews these models of buildings and trains. And I thought it'd be cool to talk to him because he's a modeler for one, but he has his own YouTube channel where he builds it and reviews it and tells you all about it. I think as a podcaster, to talk to a YouTuber that reviews models and builds them on his channel, that would be a neat subject idea to go with. So without further ado, let's talk to Michael and see what he's all about. Stay tuned. Looks like it's recording. Hey, everybody out there, this is Sam Dennehy, aka Halfass Customs, and this is Halfass Presents Podcast. Today's special guest, like I said in the monologue, Michael McCarville. Michael, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got in this hobby?
All right. So there's never really been a time where I wasn't into model railroading, but I've been a modeler my whole life. And I've always built either model cars or ships or planes. I grew up on an air base. My dad was in the military. So I was always around aircraft and stuff. And so planes was a big part of it. But model railroading has always been there the whole time. So I've done military models, I've done miniatures and all kinds of stuff. But lately it's been really very focused on model railroading.
That's awesome, and I see that you have your own YouTube channel, which I'm going to link in the description below for all the viewers and listeners that want to check you out even more. But your videos, you have a good selection of videos. I mean, over 140 videos of you just building the kit and explaining everything there is to know about it and what you go through with it. And that is some pretty fascinating stuff. It's one thing to talk about it like we're doing, but when you're actually showing the process and everything you go through to have to build that, that's a whole nother thing. That's a lot of editing too.
It is a lot of editing. And matter of fact, I actually edit while I build. So I'm working on video 145. It's a Berkshire Valley Models. It's a new kit they came out with. It's an apothecary. So the kit's about half done. The video's about half done. I literally photograph and put the photos into the video and edit the entire time I'm building. So I'll be building here, and then I'll turn around and I'll edit here constantly. So
that's impressive.
If I decide that a photo is blurry or it really didn't capture what I was trying to get, or I need to maybe add a few extra steps in between. I don't have to go back and go, maybe I have to. I mean, at that point, I'm pretty much stuck with the content that I have. So I edit the entire time I build. So it does drag out the build process quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm a modeler. I build mostly like dioramas and modules for the HO scale, and I'm working presently on my very first how-to video from the beginning to the end. And I'm doing it all off of my phone. So it's not the easiest thing. And I have a bunch of videos, like 10-second and 5-second and like 20-second videos that I'm going to slide in and edit and whatnot. And then still pictures that I'm going to put in between that of this build process of this vehicle that I'm building. And just doing that, now I build super fast. And a lot of people say that if you slow down, you'll put more detail. But I don't know if you have any clue really who I am or what I am, but I become super famous for building the Ecto 1 and all the Ectos that actually light up. This car lights up.
Nice.
And this is an HO scale. So that's what I'm famous for. And I can build that whole car besides the LEDs. I send that out to East Coast Circuit. But everything else, I can build that car in just a few hours. And I don't know how much more detail I can put if I wasted my time on it. I just build it so quick because I have everything. So taking the pictures and taking the time to do the video, it's aggravating to me because I'm not used to it, and it seems to like prolong the build because I'm wasting time taking so many pictures and video of the process. It's driving me crazy, but
yeah, most
I've got
definitely.
it all. I just haven't out edit it.
I mean, it's a big time. It's a big time suck. I mean, when you're trying to write a script, compose a basic template, and include all your basic branding. Go through the video software, making sure that any audio or music or anything like that is edited in. Make sure that each of the stills are consistent. And you're keeping an eye on the time at the whole time. Most of my videos last about 5 minutes for a whole build. And I found that the folks that were in my channel were most receptive to that 5-minute time slot. If you go back and look at my early ones, some of them are pretty long, and it's just me kind of droning on and on again. And now it's just me, it's like, I just get in there and do like a quick intro, and then after that, it's basically the entire kit build, every single step. So I've got a buddy that is building a kit that followed me, and he's like, yeah, I was looking at your parts and it looks like my parts and your parts don't quite match. I'm missing something. And so he's following right behind what I'm doing, but the whole intention is there's two parts. First of it is to help the modeler go through a build and not waste a lot of time. It's 5-6 seconds for a still, and then we go on to the next one. And the other part is to record it for myself in case I want to go back and build another one for a customer. So I'm actually building 2 of these. I'm building this one and I'm building this one. So it's the exact same kit.
Wow.
So that allows me to, and I've done more and more of that lately, where I'll actually build like 2 wagons, and my buddy wants one that just came out and I want one. So I'll build 2 of them, but at the end of the video, I can actually show 2 different color options that I chose. So maybe it's like a wagon that's, red trim and tan body, green trim and tan body. So, I can show a little bit more variety too, instead of just the colors I chose. And kind of, it gives the vendor an opportunity. So the first part is actually documenting the build process. The second part is actually helping the vendors promote their product, so I can build relationships with different vendors. So I was a big fan of a couple of different YouTube channels, and they started to get further and further away from the hobby and more about introducing personalities and talking about, we've got so-and-so online, and, not really about the craft that they had taken, or, I built this and I built that, and, that type of thing. Is all kind of like, and mail calls. I kind of gotten away from mail calls just because, anybody can go out and buy something, but, I really want to see something hobby related, not just, I mean, I can go buy stuff on eBay right now and you can watch me, but who cares about that? So I wanted to kind of fill that niche where there wasn't a lot of people building stuff and sharing that. So when I started
Right,
probably
right.
like 3 years ago, I decided that anything I build, I was going to do a video for, and let's just see how it works. So there's a lot of rail fanning stuff at first. So if you like rail fan video, project build, rail fan video, project build. And now it's pretty much, I don't really do a
Nice.
whole lot of rail fan videos, just because there's a lot of those out there. And I'm more interested in actually sharing some of the skill sets. And I'll do live streams and people will say, hey, can you go through all of your paints and stains? I'll go, okay. So I've done that a number of times and guys are watching and because they're interested about some of the tools that I use. And I mean, a lot of it's pretty
Right,
basic tools.
right.
I mean, it's not really, I don't have a bunch of high end stuff and a bunch of, expansive kinds of stains and things. But I kind of want to share that with people. And some of the personalities that I was watching were getting away from that whole thing. They were getting more focused on, oh yeah, we saw, the Rapido trains and so is a president. They brought in something, and where did this guy go from Athearn, and he's gone to this other organization. And I was like, I don't really care about any of that. All I care about is, can
Yeah.
I borrow some skill sets and get to be a better modeler, and that's all I really care about. So.
But that's kind of like exactly how you felt about that way people were doing videos. This kind of how I felt about the way people present their photos and post them online. Like you can go to a forum or you go to a Facebook or whatever, and they post their vehicle and they give you a description, and then maybe next week or maybe next month they're doing the same thing, and that's kind of all you see of that person. Nobody really knows anybody except for what they post. And if they're not kind of talking about themselves and why they built that, they're just giving you a description of what they built. So I thought, let me make a podcast where I can interview the modeler and get inside their head and see why they like doing that and why they build this way and what ticks and what they love about modeling. And you can, like, I can watch your videos and you can show us how you built it and how you painted it, but unless I'm talking to you face to face or like we're doing now, I still don't know you. I don't know why you did it that way. You just did it that way because you did it that way. So this kind of gives people an idea of what's going on in your head and why you are the way you are and why you love what you do.
Yeah, and
So
I really
it was
like
the same thing. That's why I did this.
Yeah, I really like the people that really kind of push the craft forward. Whether it's you interviewing people to kind of get insight, and people get tips and tricks and stuff, or thought processes of what they do,
Right.
or whether it's somebody who is talking about maybe something really, really nuts and bolts, like JMRI or stains or stuff like that. But a lot of what I've done is to develop a relationship with some of the vendors, because they see it as a value to them to
Oh yeah.
post the videos and stuff that I've got, do basic builds, because like this is going to be a build for this vendor, and him and I trade emails all the time. So it's part of it is to help the vendor and help the hobby, but part of it is self-serving because I have a good solid relationship with this vendor, and I got a new kit coming out. I'm like, send it to me, I'll make you a video. And I could be charging a lot of money for this stuff, but because I know there's guys, and I've talked to several that are like, you really ought to be charging a lot more for what you do. And I'm like, send me a kit and I'll build it and I'll make you a video at the same time. Because when I'm done, I get to keep this, and this is mine. It goes up on the shelf, and eventually this will be on the layout.
Right.
But I mean, I see it as a way to help the vendors. And then if I ever need something from them, I can say, hey, I really like building this. Why don't I do an alternate build and paint it different colors? And and they'll be like, oh yeah, sure. Right. Just let me know when you're ready, and I'll send it to you. So part of it's also selfish reasons too, because I have the ability to. I have really strong relationships with about 5 Craftsman kit builders. So if I want to build something, I just reach out to them and say, hey, I want to do a video for that. And they're like, awesome, we'll send it to you right away. And
nice.
I can't afford to buy, dozens of Craftsman kits. There's no way. So maybe if I was
Right, right.
charging a high rate for stuff, but now I become into a very competitive market, where they can
Yeah.
go out and see pretty much anybody that they want to find that. But for me,
Yeah, right. Right.
it's it,
Yeah, I mean,
it's
there's
it's
plenty of
nice to
talented
actually,
modelers out there.
yeah, and I get to help promote a vendor's business at the same time. So
Exactly. Yeah, I'm trying to reach out to some vendors myself. It's not that easy because what I forte in is the vehicle side of this hobby of the HO world. So the 187 scale vehicles, that's my forte in this scale hobby. The buildings and the scenery is basically background for my vehicles. And so to reach out to the vehicle vendors, the limited ones that there are, they're all big names. They're huge names like Woodland Scenics. They're not going to do an interview with me. They're too big and they don't see me as anything to value. And even all the other ones. So I would love to do reviews on some of their vehicles or build kits or whatever, anything. I'll tear the whole car apart just to show people what the guts look like so they know what they need to do if they want to like repaint it or customize it. But yeah, most of these people in this hobby or in this business for the vehicle side, they're way too big for my little YouTube channel to care about. But I'm
yeah,
trying.
and
I'm still reaching out.
I was doing a lot of videos before I ever really got a bite from anybody, and they started seeing the content out there build, and they're like, hey, yeah, I'd buy a kit or two from them, but then after a while they'd say, hey, I like your videos, and if you want to do one of our, this other vehicle that's coming out or this building that's coming out, I'd be definitely interested. So the guy who does this is Berkshire Valley Models. He has like 11 wagons and of different models. I've built a video of every single wagon that he has. So I
Nice.
have the ability to basically say, look, I've already built you all this content that you're posting on your website that's available to
Right.
anybody on YouTube. So I see you got another wagon, send me another one. And so now we just have this relationship that built, but it wasn't built off of a, send me a free wagon and I'll build it for you. I was already done like 3 or 4. And I said, you guys are
Yeah.
free to use the videos. And if you have a big enough channel and you have enough subscribers and you have enough views and hours and all that, then the content that he is providing out on his website helps feed my channel too, because it's all content on my channit. So we
Right.
kind
Right.
of help each other, we're cross-pollinating all the stuff that we're doing.
I figured that it's as long as I've been doing it. I'm coming up on my 1 year anniversary, and I have a little under 50 total interviews, but I have, I think, uh, 65 or 70 total videos because I had another playlist of the history of my builds and the things that I like. So it was like a 2-part YouTube channel, interviews, and then everything I like, and I talked to everybody about it. So I figured I'm barely a year into this. The further I go and the more I do it, maybe, it'll catch wind to, hey, this guy seems to be, knows what he's doing. So maybe we should start looking at him to do it. But I wasn't looking at it in the beginning like anything was going to come out of this besides just what it is, just an interview based podcast. So I'm not really hoping and begging and pleading and I'm not worried that if nobody ever lets me do a review on their vehicles or no big companies want to do an interview, that it's going to ruin me because I didn't get into this for that. It just would be nice if they did, but if they never do, well, then they never do. But at least I'll keep trying.
Yeah, in all honesty, I've stopped looking at, like, I'll look at to see what people are viewing, like right now, like in the last 60 minutes or the last 48 hours. I'll look to see like what's kind of popular. And I can tell you right now that there's certain kits that I've built that are very popular that I have no interest in doing another one. There's a Walters steel tank.
Right.
And I'm like, I did that one like a year and a half ago, and that's like one of my most popular ones. Is because when people, you got to think that
Wow.
Google's the biggest search engine, YouTube's the second biggest search engine.
Yeah.
So people are looking for stuff. So if they just bought a Walters kit, they're going to look at that and go, oh, water tank, Walters, boom. Oh, look, Mike just showed up. And I get tons of hits. And it's a plastic kit. It's very simple. And I was testing different kinds of weathering on it. But Craftsman kits, people are intimidated by it. So I'm like a niche within a niche within a niche. I'm like so many niches down the chain that a lot of people don't look for the stuff that, search for the things that I do, just because there's a lot of fear and intimidation. It's like, oh, I could never build that Craftsman kit. This thing doesn't really have that many parts, and it's really pretty straightforward. But you got to screw up a couple.
Is there an interior to that? Or is it just the outside with decorated windows so you don't see the interior?
So it's got like an interior divider wall. So it's got a door. It's got a deck. Basically, this is the flooring. It's just stained, so it sits on top of that. And there's some ornate pieces on the front, little cornice work and stuff up here. And then there's a roof that just sits on top of it. I mean, that's literally all there is. But this kit begs to be detailed, just because, I mean, from the front you can see the stained flooring and stuff. So yeah, I mean, that thing definitely needs to be.
Right. It's got those big old windows, so. And
it's got a back room, and I just closed the doors because I didn't want to mess with it. And you could leave the doors open. You could light the back room.
Yeah.
You could, I mean, there's a lot of stuff you could do. But this is basically two pieces of wood. There's a piece on the bottom that's laser cut, and then there's the flat scribed basswood on the top. I mean, that's literally all it is. Two pieces, glue them together. I glued them together, weighted them down, let it dry, and then I stained it and then weighted it down again. I mean, this took no time at all. I did two of them at the same time. So this is this is a fairly basic kit, but people are still intimidated by it. Now, if I wanted to stay popular and get tons of hits and get even more subscribers, I've got like 2,000 something now. But if I wanted to get, I was focused on just subscribers, all I would do would be build plastic Walters kits. That's it. I wouldn't touch Craftsman kit because people don't want to see those videos. There's a few narrow gauge guys, and there's a few Craftsman kit builders that are thinking about, oh, I want to evaluate that kit. Let me see what Mike did with it. And that's usually how I get hits. But those are not very many people, A lion's share of people are out there going into their hobby shop, if they're lucky enough to have one, or buy something online, and they buy a Walters kit and they paint it and detail it and maybe put lighting and stuff in it. But that's 90% of the.
A lot of them don't even detail it. Yeah, a lot of them don't detail it or paint it. They leave it that blue color with the white roof for like a cargo building or whatever, and they say, "Oh, this is good enough." I glued it together and just put it on my layout.
Hey, when I was 10, I was doing the same thing. So, and I was pretty happy with my little, whatever it was.
Yeah, but I get how that little kit that you're doing. Yeah, I get that it could be intimidating, the fact that it's got interior walls when a Walters cargo building or warehouse literally doesn't have any walls except for the exterior. So I guess it could be intimidating.
Yeah, and the other part of that is Walters is so big, there's no real opportunity to develop a strong vendor relationship with those guys because I tried. And they were pretty much unresponsive. I got a response back. It's like, oh, this is great. I like your channel. I forwarded this on to our marketing department. And after that, it was crickets. So
yeah. Now, if you could, if you could have been like Ken Patterson in his What's Neat show, I'm sure they would have probably agreed to send something there for a review. But I mean, he's got thousands upon thousands, like tens of thousands of followers, probably a lot more. Who knows?
Yeah, and the other thing is, so Ken actually does the builds for Walters. So a lot of the stuff that you see on his channel that he's done builds, is actually the artwork on the cover that he's shooting at the same
Oh
time.
yeah, yeah,
So
right.
he's already
Yeah, I've
there.
talked to him plenty of times. He's a great guy, but I think if we're not him, we're not going to get that availability to make videos for them.
Yeah, and you never know. Something may happen to Ken at some point in the future, like the guy who I can't think of his name, but did the narrow gauge book that I read cover to cover when I was in junior high, and he gave up model railroading completely and is now an artist in the Southwest, and he does like Southwest, cactuses and red sandstone and coyotes and all kinds of stuff. I mean, that's his art, and he has a studio in Taos, but now he doesn't even touch model railroading. So, you never know. Ken Patterson may say,
Wow.
I could take this business model and turn it into something else like golf, because there's a ton of people that play golf, and there's not that many people that do model railroading.
Right. In the grand scheme of things, no, there really isn't. Which is, or modeling in general. I mean, you don't even have to have the railroad part of it. Like, I don't have the railroad. I'm not really interested in the train side as much as the cars and the dioramas for the vehicles. But yeah, even just modeling in general, the whole hobby of modeling isn't where maybe it might have been back in the 80s or in the 90s. It seemed like it was a lot bigger then than it is now, and I blame it on technology, smartphones and tablets and video games. That's what I'm blaming it on.
I mean, video games are definitely have a big impact on folks. I mean, when I was growing up, video games weren't really around, but it wasn't too long afterwards that they came along, and I would start to play more video games. But
arcades were, though.
What's that?
Arcades, those were around. They've been around since the late 60s? Billiard halls.
Yeah, and I only have so many quarters in my pocket.
Right.
The other thing I find interesting is the different modeling genres that are out there. Every once in a while, I'll build a tank or an aircraft or something, because each of those guys have a lot of different skill sets that model railroaders don't use. The guys that do all the aircraft stuff with the metallized finishes and stuff like that. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that they use that the model railroaders just don't come across. So, and some of the the military armor modelers are absolutely amazing. And so I'll pick up a kit. Matter of fact, I've got a German self-propelled gun and a in-flight Air Force in-flight refueling aircraft sitting on my shelf, and I'm gonna probably build those at some point, only just to kind of get me out of the model railroading groove a little bit and go build something else, learn some new skills, watch some new videos, and then come back and apply some of that stuff that I've learned. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I know when I got into the 187 HO vehicles group, what I specialize in, nobody was really hitting that little niche of the market. So I'm well known of the people that know me, which isn't a lot, of building hot rods and lowriders and custom cars in that scale. And I went from the 125th scale world of model cars and transferred it straight into these little cars. And there's nobody building those when I joined the hobby or joined this scale hobby. So just like you, going back and forth from like planes or tanks or trains to cars or whatever, I do that too, but I stay with cars. I just switch the scales. So I just transfer all the same skills back and forth, back and forth. I even do Hot Wheel cars. I customize those. And it's the same skills from like a model car to a Hot Wheel car to a 187 scale car. Doesn't really matter. It's the same thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, but you find yourself when you go down in scale, you tend to bring a lot more detail with you than if you were to go the other direction, because you're like, well, I'm used to putting all this detail in a kit, and now I got to find a way to get some of this stuff in this kit. Obviously there's some points where you just have
Right.
to draw the line, but dashboard detail on a
True.
187th
Yeah.
kit is kind of tough.
Yes, it is. It's almost useless too, because unless you're looking at that car with a camera view, you're not going to see it with your own eyes, the little detail that's on that dashboard. You can only see it in a photograph. So it is kind of useless for some detail, but in other detail, it really makes a difference, especially like body-wise, like paint and graphics and wheels or whatnot. But yeah, to do a dashboard like the speedometers for the dashboard, there's just no point in doing that. But somebody might, and somebody could. It's just.
But you tend to do a lot of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of times when you're doing something and you're thinking about, well, I'm going to go ahead and add this level of detail. No one is ever going to see this, but I'll know it's there. So, I mean,
right.
There was a corner on this building on the back side of it that the seam wasn't quite 100%, so I puttied it, sanded it down and stuff. It's on the back side of the building. It's going to be facing this way. No one's ever going to see the work, but I know that there's no ugly seam. Plus, I don't know if you do this, but when I'm taking videos, when I'm done and I take the video and I'll do like a once around, I'll do like basically a shot and then a shot and then a shot. And then
right, that's exactly what I do.
So I'll look at the photos when they pop up on my screen, on my computer screen as I'm editing the video. And as soon as I see like maybe a head-on shot, I'll look at it and I'll go, oh my God, there's fingerprints all over the window, or, and you'll fix stuff. You'll take it back to the bench and then you're cleaning stuff up, or, the stuff you thought was really good on a 24-inch monitor looks like crap. So it's back to the bench.
Oh yeah. Well, I found like once I'm done with a car, I'm kind of done with it. I don't want to go back to it and fix it, but I'll build a whole thing from start to finish and then take a lot of the photographs, and I'll know as the modeler exactly what's wrong with it. I won't be happy with it, if I mess something up or it doesn't look right or something happened. But I don't really want to fix it because now I'm done with that car. I feel like it's done. I can move on to the next. And when I photograph it, I'll manipulate the camera so I can photograph it in the right angle so none of those mess ups really get noticed. And then so the stuff I post online looks perfect, but in my head I know, oh, this is a piece of junk. I hate this car now.
I do the exact same thing. I when I'm done with a project, I never go back to it because it's like a time stamp in your life, right? You've learned. There's an experience. You're learning and you're applying that stuff. But I mean, you would never be done. You would always go back. Like, oh, I just found out how to like, a simpler way to do like raised white letter tires or something, and now I have to go back and do 50 cars.
Yeah, right. It's like before they made that Molotov chrome pen, everybody was using a foil called bare metal foil. Now that chrome pen exists, I don't go back to the old models and tear the bare metal foil and say, this is going to look a lot better. I just leave it and say, the car's done. I'm not touching it no more. I'll move it around from display case to blade case to do photo shoots or whatever, but I'm not touching the car to build it anymore. I'm not even going to tear it apart.
I agree. It's, I have enough stuff to build right now. I don't need to go back and retro anything. So.
Right. I will say I did one, and I can show you. You might be impressed. You might not care, but I was unhappy with the start of the build because of the graphics I was putting on it. So once I got better stuff, I then used the better stuff, and it worked out just fine. But I'll give you a for instance of what I did. So I built a Ghostbusters car, and at the time there was nobody that made the decals for it. So I then found a guy in Mexico that made stickers for it and can shrink the stickers up and down for different scales. So I got the sticker set. Well, the sticker set was super thick sticker paper. And I just plastered them on there and I said, car's done. I'm happy with it for now. But then I was looking at it and I'm looking at it and I found a guy that could make actual decals off of the actual Earl Ghostbusters car kit, the 125th scale one. And I gave him that decal sheet. I said, here, take this, shrink it, do whatever you got to do so it'll fit this car. So then I took the original car, and this is the only one I've ever done that I turned it into a regular hearse because I was so unhappy with the way those stickers looked that it just looked awful to me. And I said, I can't deal with this crap no more. I've got to redo this car to make it look so much better. Yeah. So it started off like this with huge race stickers that just looked awful. And I turned it into a sleek, like almost lowrider style hearse. Because this thing, if you look at it, it probably only sits like a 3 inches off the ground or something. But yeah, that's the only car I've ever redone because I hated the way the first version looked. It just looked horrible. But it was the first one, so you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, I will say that. So I wasn't really happy with the way my corrugated metal was coming out. It was all kind of the same color, the same tone. There wasn't enough variety. I didn't feel like I had really progressed enough to do that. I'd done a couple of buildings for myself and then a buddy. So I had a big tram house that I built, and it sat on the shelf because I was afraid to start the corrugated because I didn't want to screw it up. And I'd seen somebody else do one, and when I saw theirs, it looked horrible. And I was like, I definitely don't want to make it look like the really bad version that I saw. So I actually just sat it on the shelf, and I've been staring at it half built for probably a year and a half. And then about 2-3 weeks ago, I sat down and did the corrugated. And when I was done, I'm like, damn, this looks good. And I never would have been able to get to this level a year and a half ago. So I had to wait for my skills to get to the point where I was happy to attack it.
Yeah. Well, that's so funny you say that because I jumped out of the 125th scale models because I've got burnt out because my skill set wasn't where I wanted it. Then I went into the Hot Wheels scale. And then I quickly found out my skill set was nowhere near what the Japanese guys were doing with these Hot Wheels. They were making them look like real life cars with custom lowrider paints or, candy metal flake paints or whatnot. And I was like, I can't do candy metal flake at this time in my life. That doesn't make any sense to me. So then I jumped into this scale and I learned how to do candy metal flake in this scale, which doesn't make any sense because it's way too small. And then I went back to the Hot Wheels scale and I blew the competition away. And then I'm going back to the 125th scale and I'm making stuff that just doesn't make sense to me, thinking like, how was I not being able to do this then, but I can do it now? Like I should have known this stuff, but I just didn't at the time.
Yeah. And a lot of it has to do with somebody's asked me one time what like one of the most important things to have in your tools. And I told them, I was like, patience. That's the most important thing. And had you not had the patience to just know that it's something that you want to achieve, but maybe you don't go about it in exactly the same scale, but you eventually will get it, you stayed after it. That's the most important skill because people get really frustrated and rushed and feel like they got to you were already talking about it. You feel like they got to just get it done. But I feel that way when I'm doing like commission work because I just want it to be done. And I know that I'm probably putting in a lot more work into it than I should be because it's probably not going to be seen or it's going to be put up, behind other structures or whatever.
Right.
But as far as my own stuff, I'll take that amount of time. And when I'm done, I'll put it up on the shelf and I'll go, this thing looks great. But a lot of people just want that end result. And if I just wanted the end result, I would have been so frustrated that I never would have attacked half the stuff that I did.
Yeah. Well, that's just like this scale. HO 187 scale, it's such a small scale. There's so many possibilities you can do, but then a lot of people don't. And then you can easily, the modeler, just be like, I'm going to build that building, the kit that you have on your table, just the way it came. No added extras, no nothing. I'll just build it. I'll paint it. I'll make it look good. And then there's other people that'll take, say, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months building that one same building, but add every single little detail imaginable, every 3D printed part, every, aftermarket company's part, and make it the best thing anybody's ever seen in their life for that building. And you just think, I could have hurried up and I could have did this, and it would have looked probably like anybody else would have done, that knows how to build. Or I could take just a little bit of extra time and put all this extra stuff into it. But at the same time, if nobody else is going to see it but you, do you need to put all that extra work into it? Because all that extra work is worth it if it's going to be shown. If hundreds of people are going to see it and judge it or talk about it and be like, this is the most insane thing I've ever seen in my life. But if you never show it, it's just for you, that gratitude or the completion of that is very small compared to showing and sharing it with the world, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but in my opinion.
No, I agree. I mean, there's a guy in our train club who does amazing structures and detail and interiors. And I just told, there's a guy that in our group that I do a lot of commission work. He's always pushing me. He's like, hey, can you build this for me? Can you build this? So he's always eager to have me build something. And I told him, like, day one, I don't do interiors. I don't do lighting. So if you want to do any of that stuff, you should probably learn to do all that stuff yourself. But otherwise,
right.
And here's the other part. I mean, the end result of this is going to be a video for the vendor. The vendor doesn't care that I super detailed the interior or that I added lighting or anything else. They may think it's cool and they may want to put it on their website. Yeah, but I mean, it's a how-to build a video to build the kit. And once you start doing interior detailing, it could go any number of directions. Stuff that I envision. I mean, this is supposed to be an apothecary. Well, you could do a general store. I mean, there's any number of buildings you could do this with. So I think
easy. It's a universal kit.
Yeah, and it can be a lot of different things. Every once in a while, I'll kit bash something. I'll take, like I did, I took a boathouse and I made it like a tram tower, so that the mine buckets would go up inside it and then go back down the mountain. So, but it was a boathouse from like New England.
Oh, that's cool.
And the base is still like slanted. I can show it to you. So it's supposed to be a boathouse sitting on a beach, right? And it's supposed to be like that, the bottom of it sitting on the sand, and then you drag the boats up inside. So I made it a tram tower instead, put it on stilts, put corrugated metal on top of it instead of tar paper, put a little wheel on the inside, which most of that stuff you can't see, but I know it's there. And
right.
The manufacturer saw that and they're like, this is great. Thanks for doing that. We love this. And I said, do you guys like it when I do kit bashes or just walk through the video one by one? And they basically said, do whatever you want. We love whatever you do with the videos, because it just shows that in that case, it shows another option for the kit. In some of the other videos, it's just basically, step 1, 2, 3, 4, building it per the instructions. So now I'm like, okay, I'll just do whatever comes to mind when I'm building it. So
that's cool. Well, we're almost, and I think we got 10 more minutes until 7 o'clock on your end. I guess I just have maybe 1 or 2 more questions. In your videos or in your building, no, not your videos, in your build time, how long do you think it takes you average from beginning to a kit to the end of the kit to finish a kit? Just building it the way you build it.
They're also different. That I'll go anywhere from like a day and a half on a wagon, just a little wagon, to something really involved that may take me a week or 2. So if you were to talk about like a big structure like this was probably 3 days total, start to finish. And that's counting the video, building the video too. So that slows me down a little bit, but I'm pretty fast at the process. It doesn't really slow me down that much. But if you're talking about one of the more extensive structures with a lot of detail and windows and stuff, it probably takes me a week. So like that one probably took about a week. But there's stairs and railings. Railings are horrible. I hate doing railings. I'm not a big fan of stairs either. But when I do the kits, this is actually based on a historical structure in Colorado that doesn't exist anymore. So I have access to a lot of historical photos for this the certain railroad that a lot of the structures that I build are nearby. So I'll probably spend 4 or 5 hours doing research first before I ever even start the build, because I try to model it as prototypical as possible. I mean, you do the same thing when you're doing, Echo One. You're looking at pictures and trying to, make sure it looks
Right.
like the actual vehicle. So, I mean, I do the same thing.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, that doesn't look bad at all for just a week of building that big old building. I mean, it's not a building, but the house or whatever they want to call it. A week, that's not bad at all. That's pretty good. And it is pretty detailed. I mean, it looks amazing.
Yeah, and there's a few screw ups that have been on here. The other thing is, as you're building it, there's a lot of stuff that you decide. Like as I'm building it, I realized there's so much stuff with the railing and stuff coming out. I was like, I'm not going to be doing the interior, and the roof won't come off on this because it's just not conducive to that. So you're making changes and adjustments and stuff as you build it. The other thing I found that as you're building that structure, you're starting to try different things with like tar paper, and you haven't used tar paper yet. So as you're doing it, you're trying different things, and you're like, oh, that didn't work at all. So instead of leaving the tar paper, weathered, I'm just going to go ahead and paint over it with craft paint, then put some, weathering on it, and then I'm done. Basically, bury any of the mistakes. So and it looks good when you're done, but at the times, you may be going back, changing things, or hiding your first attempt on stuff too.
Right. Well, I guess then the last question is there a certain kit or a certain build that you've done that you deem the best you've done so far? Is your holy grail of builds?
I would probably say the one that sat on the shelf for 1.5 years, because I basically stared at it unfinished for so long. And honestly, it's only been done for a couple of weeks, but I still sit there and like I'll stop working and I'll start staring at it, and I'm like, man, I really like this kit. And sometimes when you get a kit done, you just want to build another one. You're like, maybe I'll build another one of those. That was fun. And then you can detail the interior because the roof actually hasn't been attached. So if I wanted to, I could go back. But
Nice.
there's actually no historical information about this inside of this kit, the inside of the structure in real life. So nobody really knows what it looks like. If it ever comes to light that, there's information about this, then I have the opportunity to go back and build it. But for right now, that one will probably be it, just because it took me so long to master the craft of doing corrugated metal to the point where I was really happy with it, that I finished it, and then I sat back and went, I had this huge grin on my face when I was done, because I had this huge sense of pride when I was done.
Yeah,
Sometimes,
that's
I'm
awesome.
not going to get that feeling when I'm done with the apothecary. It's a neat little kit, but you know what? It's just a tiny little, it's 4 walls and a roof. I mean, how much fun can you have with that? This thing's sitting on trestles. It's got all kinds of different things on it.
Very true.
Yeah. So that would probably be the big dog.
Oh, that's really cool. That's awesome, man. I'm looking at my computer and I see the video. I remember seeing this video a while ago. And when I mean a while ago, I see so many YouTube videos of so many things, either if they're doing podcasts or they're blogging or whatever, that I feel like it's been forever since I seen this, even though it hasn't been that long. But yeah, I remember watching that video and unfortunately not being able to hear your description of how much you loved it just now. It's just another building until you hear how much you love building that building. So it's really cool to see that and hear that, that's your favorite build so far, because that was a neat video to watch.
Cool.
But anyways, this was a pleasure talking to you. Do you want to plug anything before you go, or are you happy with how it went?
No, honestly, I appreciate you reaching out to me, and it was fun just to kind of get to know you and see the take that you focus on, because everybody always has a different focus in the hobby. No matter if you're doing aircraft, tanks,
right?
If you're doing 187 cars, you're talking about not having trains or anything. I think it's cool that you focus in and burrow down deep into a subject matter and get really expertise in that. I think that's really cool, and I think then there's going to be a lot of people that are going to follow you simply because of your passion for what you do. So it's kind of cool to see what angle you've taken, and just getting to know you and getting to talk to you about it is very cool. But honestly,
well, awesome. I appreciate that. That's very kind words. I like talking to you too.
Honestly, I plug myself enough. I used to have a video, and I'd go, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Make sure you join my Facebook group. I don't even talk about that anymore, because I'm like, you know what? If you guys are if you're not watching by now, there's nothing I can say that's going to get you to join, right? So I've really kind of stopped doing that. I've got people that are interested, and a training club that I've joined that all the guys all have similar interests. But honestly, when I come out with a new video, I'll sit down and do what I tell my wife is shameless self-promotion, because I'll post a Facebook post to a new project like this one in a Facebook group, and then I'll just hit group after group after group about, here's my new video, check it out. And
yeah, I do that with my cars.
Yeah, you have to. And every once in a while, somebody will be like, "Oh, this isn't really appropriate to our subject matter." I'm like, in the notes in the about section, it says anything about trains. So so this is about trains. What do you want me to do?
Yeah, I've actually kind of been kicked out of about 2 HO scale train groups because I don't ever post trains. I just post the cars for the trains. And they're like, this isn't train stuff. I said, well, it's background for train stuff, so it is.
187.
They're like, but you don't build trains. And I'm like, no.
So put your car.
It's the same thing. It's just
so
whatever.
Buy a flat car and put all your cars on a flat car, and then you're golden.
Right. Yeah. That's the workaround. But right on, man.
This was the same groups that I got kicked out of. So
probably. That's funny. But this was a pleasure talking to you. I enjoy your videos. Keep up the good work. And like I said in the beginning, I'm going to put a link of his YouTube channel in the description below. I'll also put a link to his Facebook page in the description below. So if anybody has a question, or if anybody wants to see your work and get to know you even more by your builds, they have that option. And yeah, man, this was a pleasure.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. And I appreciate the time. And it was good to have this talk, sit down for an hour and get to know another modeler and what you're passionate about.
Right on.
I think it's very cool.
Thank you. Well, hold on real quick. I'll end this podcast and then we'll say goodbye.
Okay.
So yeah, everybody watching, I hope you liked this episode. It was pretty interesting. A great modeler we had to talk with. So, make sure to look at his Facebook page and make sure you look at his YouTube channel and subscribe to it, because he's got some great stuff. So check him out. Anyways, until next episode, you all guys have a great day. All right, so that was Michael McCarville. Yeah, you can tell I still don't know how to say his name, and he told me an hour ago. That was Michael. Great model. Like I said, um, this is his Facebook page. I'll have a link in the description, but this is just to kind of get you guys to know, about him. So that's him, and then he's got all these YouTube videos of all these buildings and um, all these woodcraft stuff that he's built, and he's got over 140 videos. So that's plenty of videos for you guys to get to know. And like he said, in most of his later videos, all these videos are only like 5 minutes long. So they're easy to binge watch through. So yeah, check him out because I haven't watched all over 140 of them, but I've watched quite a few. I think probably 20 of them to be honest with you, and they're really good. He's a very good modeler, for what he is. I mean, he's reviewing the model and he's building it. He's showing you how simple it is and how easy it is to build. And for the most part, they're easy kits. So you just got to get out of your head that you can't build it and get into your head that you can build it and make it look just as good or better. But yeah, I'll have a link for his Facebook page and his YouTube channel, and you guys can talk to him if you want because he's a pretty cool guy. So don't forget, Patreon is down below if you choose to look at it. You don't have to, but if you choose to, it's there. And yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe, and check these videos out. And then check this one out. See ya.